Give me your hands.
Sure.
Do you cry easily?
Sometimes.
Well, let's get it over with.
Hello friends and welcome to my commentary corner. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. I love having you in my corner. And today we're doing a burger talk. Whoop, whoop. I feel like this is the cornerstone of my channel, and my fellow Bob's Burgers fans out there, special shout out to you, because honestly, I would not be here without you guys, so thank you. But today's video was actually a topic that someone had requested in the comments, and I thought that it was a really good idea. So I wanted to talk about this interesting relationship between Mr. Fischoeder and the Belchers, especially Bob. Mr. Fischoeder, of course, is an eccentric, very wealthy man with far too much time on his hands, and also the landlord of the Belchers, and they get into all kinds of wacky shenanigans together. But we're gonna jump into it. A little bit more about Calvin Fischoeder. He is
An eccentric. Yes, he wears a white suit.
And an eye patch.
And he drives a golf cart everywhere.
He is one white cat away from being a supervillain.
I feel like Calvin Fischoeder reminds me of that wealthy uncle that you always talk about, and I feel like he fits that description very well for the Belchers. He's like that weird, eccentric, long-lost rich uncle, you know, that we all hope that we have. He, of course, is the landlord of the Belchers and a lot of the properties in Seymour's Bay. He owns most of it. I don't know, like he's just a strange guy, and I feel like it very much fits the mold of when someone has too much money, they just get like a weird thing about them. Calvin seems to come from old money, so I feel like it's even worse. But when a human being has too much money and too much time on their hands and loose morals, it's just not a great combination for a human being. But still, I feel like Calvin Fischoeder has a lot of redeeming qualities, and I really enjoy him. He's like also weirdly attached to the Belchers. They have this weird like symbiotic relationship going on. So that's what I wanted to dive into. I feel like starting off with the strongest relationship, it's between Calvin and Bob. It's clearly the most intimate out of any of the Belchers. I think he genuinely likes Bob, and he'll listen to him over honestly anyone else. I feel like there are not a whole lot of people that can convince Calvin to do much, not even his own brother. I mean, also because he doesn't respect his brother, and for good reason, but he respects Bob. So they've mentioned it in passing. It was actually Felix, Calvin's brother, who mentioned it.
He listens to you. You remind him of our father for some reason. Maybe something about that arm hair.
He is always staring at it.
Yeah.
And maybe the mustache too, but I definitely know the arm hair for sure. And so I think he reminds him of his dad, of course, who passed. So I think that lends itself to a fondness that he feels towards Bob and by proxy, the rest of the family. And something that I thought of too, the whole him, you know, having respect for Bob and listening to him. I think he has such a fondness for Bob that Bob was literally able to convince Calvin to sell Wonder Wharf.
I know you said you weren't going to sell ever, but if you did sell the wharf, you could...
I told you, Bob, it's off the table.
Your own private island, a million eye patches.
I don't know what it is about you, you bushy-armed bastard. But you've convinced me to sell Wonder Wharf.
Really?
Felix knew that he wouldn't listen to him, but he knew that Bob would listen to him. And I feel like that is not something to skip over. You know, it's like, okay, clearly Bob holds a very special place in his heart or in his mind. So he was able to convince this man to sell a huge part of cash flow for him. And of course, he didn't go through with it, but like even the fact that he was able to do that is like, wow. Okay. And then he was able to convince him to go back on that decision. So it's like, whoa, all right, you like really are a fan of Bob, clearly.
Because you're wishy-washy! You just convinced me to sell the wharf!
Look, Mr. Fischoeder, I was wrong. I thought I wanted nice things, but I don't even like nice things.
I'm never selling Wonder Wharf.
What?
Never!
And we all know that the Belchers are broke and are always late on the rent. And despite that, it never ruins the relationship between him and Mr. Fischoeder. He is still, I think, very generous with them. And something else to note too, specifically with Calvin and Bob's relationship, is that Bob is the only one out of the Belchers that he calls by name consistently. You know, for the rest of them, he has like some kind of nickname that usually includes like Bob's name actually. So I found that really interesting. And then segueing into, is that a verb? Segueing? Can I use that as a verb? I'm going to. I've done it and I stand by it. Segueing into Mr. Fischoeder's relationship with the rest of the family, touching on the fact that he uses kind of nicknames for the rest of them. Of course, for the kids, he'll usually say like burger children, or, you know, for the family in general, kind of he'll say like burger people. And then for Linda, he'll say Lady Bob. So, you know, it's just almost kind of distancing himself from them and not using their names. But I don't think that's out of a place of, you know, animosity. It's just, I think his main focus is more so on Bob. Like that's, I think, his foundation relationship, I guess, with the Belcher family. But something that's interesting is that Calvin, of course, uses the whole Belcher clan in a lot of his schemes, and it's usually like something wacky or crazy. The first thing that comes to mind, and of course I think it's one of the first things that they do together, is in the episode An Indecent Thanksgiving Proposal, when he tells Bob that he needs to use his family for Thanksgiving to impress a woman that he is trying to get together with.
I'm just here as a friend who needs to borrow your family for Thanksgiving.
And in order to do that, he needs to act like he actually has a family. Well, really, this lady was a home wrecker, so he needed a home for her to wreck. And he, like, first thing went to the Belchers. And so I found it interesting, like, he relies on them. And of course, it's usually like he's compensating them with, you know, waiving their rent for a month or two or however long, because, you know, they're broke and need help with the rent pretty much always. So he has no problem putting his compensation towards that if he can get a favor from them. And honestly, it feels like he actually enjoys their involvement as well. I think he kind of likes spending time around the Belchers, and so it's just another way for him to kind of like be around them and in their lives and all of that. And I imagine he probably gets pretty lonely. I don't really know like what he does on a daily basis. Like he doesn't really seem to have a whole lot of close relationships. So the Belchers are probably one of the closest things that he can call friendship. Well, I mean, I guess he has his little like rich friend group, but like they're demented. I mean, let's be real. They have some weird, crazy, ritualistic stuff that they're definitely into. I don't even know if any of them really like each other. I think that they just bond over the fact that they're all wealthy white men. So I think he probably senses a warmth in the Belchers and a sense of family. And I think that he's drawn to that, but just won't say that outright, you know. But yeah, I mean, just some of the episodes where they kind of rely on each other. Because something else that someone had mentioned too, and I didn't even realize it until I thought about it some more, but the Belchers will ask Mr. Fischoeder for, you know, an extension on their rent because of, you know, maybe needing to pay for something else, and so they can't make rent on time. And so he almost never agrees to the initial request, but he will find a way to work with them, which I really respect, because it's clear that he wants them to win. He does not want them to fail. And that comes up at the very beginning in the episode Burger Wars, when Jimmy Pesto is trying to buy out Bob and his restaurant. But the whole reason that Jimmy Pesto was going to be able to do that is because the Belchers always would pay their rent late, and if they couldn't pay it on time in the next payment cycle, then he was going to, you know, seriously consider having to give up the space because, you know, economically it just wasn't really working out. And I mean, I'm sure it's very much in his right as a landlord to, you know, kind of boot him out if there's a competitor who does pay, not only pays, but pays, you know, on time and really just has the business acumen to be able to reliably bring, you know, that return on investment or whatever, the ROIs. Gross business lingo. And I think especially by the end of that episode, whenever he did taste Bob's food, because he also had said, I don't eat my tenants' food, you know, thank you, but no thank you. I guess he just didn't want to have like a bias or whatever towards anyone, but also I think he kind of thinks that like the food at his tenants' places is beneath him. But of course, tasting Bob's burgers, he was like, wow.
This is great. Yeah. Oh, it's complicated. It's mystical. Bob, you might be the worst tenant I've ever had. Which brings me to your lease. Let's extend it. All right, Bobby.
Never mind, this is amazing, please stay. Well, not in those words, but he did love Bob's cooking. So I think that that just kind of like set in stone for him his, I guess, affection towards Bob and towards the Belchers. So he works with them. And so, of course, the instance that I think about with that situation is in season 1, early days, in Sheesh Cab Bob. The Belchers are wanting to throw a birthday party for Tina, but they're going to need a little extra cash, which then also means that they need a little extra time on trying to pay the rent. And And so Bob is asking Calvin for some help, and Calvin says,
What if I don't give you an extension on your rent, but I do give you the opportunity to earn some extra money in one of my side businesses?
So for the next week, I'll be driving a taxi cab to pay for Tina's party.
so of course, that works out well. So that was cool. In the Warfening, those episodes, that like two-parter series at the end of season 4, when Bob convinces Calvin to sell Wonder War so that they can put in high-end condos or whatever. Of course, that's Felix's idea. And Calvin actually listening to Bob and being convinced, and then Bob taking it back and Calvin deciding, you know what, you're right, Bob, let's not actually do this. So just, it's interesting to see how affected Calvin is by Bob. The last gingerbread house on the left, when Calvin calls up Bob to come and be like his scapegoat, basically, in their weird rich man games, where they're building gingerbread houses, and of course brings in Bob.
Because I want you to enter this contest and lose.
What? Why?
Because every damn year, I lose.
In exchange for waived rent, the nice capades when the Fischoeders come, and they're able to help the Belchers out by giving them time at the ice rink at the mall so that the kids can put on their little ice show.
I suppose I could talk someone into letting you use the rinky-dink for, say, the last half hour that the mall's open. Yes! I'll give it to you for a song. As in, I get to perform a song. And my brother Felix will accompany me. I'll sing and he'll ice dance.
So, just this interesting dynamic between Mr. Fischoeder and the Belchers. And I feel like a great way to describe it, and I said it at the very beginning, he is like that weird, long-lost rich uncle that we all wish that we had. Have this weird, positive, like symbiotic relationship, and I think it works for them. I feel like Mr. Fischoeder kind of toes the line of like selfishness when it comes to his requests of them and like the crazy schemes that he has them be a part of, but he's also trying to do them a favor in the process of helping to lighten their load when it comes to paying the rent. So it's, it's not for nothing. He's trying to compensate them properly, and I appreciate that. So even though he's a weird dude, I think he's a great character, and I think he has a genuine kindness for the Belchers, even if he shows it in this very roundabout way, But that's just all I wanted to talk about with the Belchers and Mr. Fischoeder. I think that they have a very cool relationship. If you guys have any comments about that, feel free to comment below. If you have any other ideas or topics that you would like to hear me talk about with Bob's Burgers, King of the Hill, any other TV shows that you'd like to hear me talk about, also comment that down below. I love getting to hear from you guys. Also, I've started a new thing. I actually have a Twitch channel now, and I'm starting to stream there. My channel is called Kimberly Off Script, and basically I wanted it to be a space where you guys can get to know me better, just in a very unfiltered and kind of raw setting, basically. Just where we can chat and all of that. Right now I'm playing Stardew Valley. I'm going to be playing probably some Pokemon Arceus, some Minecraft, just kind of more cozy games in a comfy, cozy setting. So definitely check that out. I haven't come up with a schedule quite yet, but I plan to stream through the week, at least a few days through the week in the early afternoon. So definitely come and check that out. I'll put a link down below for my Twitch channel if you're interested in hanging out with me. So I'll see you guys there. But if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button and hit that subscribe button so that you can get the alerts for my videos and so that you can see this face a whole lot more. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye!